hate monitors that aren't 144 hertz. And sometimes the clicks aren't even registering. It's dashing time, boys. Dude, you heard me click. Dude, why is it double jumping? What? I'm dying at every single place I possibly can. Okay, that was my fault. Swag root. You just barely make it.
Dash.
That was such a late click. Dude! I jumped 10,000 times before I beat Dash. What just happened there? You saw that. Yeah, oh my god. Never mind, you didn't see it. I'm just gonna call him. Oh. Okay. Different one with the fam, okay. Dude. Dude, the sync. I love this level.
Geometry Dash.
Ah. Oh my god, dude. I was 2 away. My god. I don't know why, but I smell grape juice. I just want this spider. Why do I do an extra jump there? I always think an extra jump is needed.
Geometry dash.
I mean, you can still hear me rage, right? This game makes me want to throw myself out a window on a 50-story building. Got a Discord notification. It's probably the suicide community trying to tell me to do it. But I'm just built different. I need to complete dash first, and then I can. Finger dash, because the song sucks, and I have it stuck in my head. Feed me the weed's crazy. Died in the same place twice. Let's see, geometrical dominator. Update where they made the robot. It had to be gay. It had to be a gay level. I mean, the deco looks horrible in this level. Like, why yellow, dude? Thanks for the worms. Blast processing. This should be like... This should be the third level. If all the mechanics were introduced in the first two levels. Damn. In a rhythm-based game, you can get a lot of, like, really good syncs. And not like the ones that have water. But like, okay, hold on. Hold on. Let's do this. Let's do some medium demons actually. Trending. Really? Alright, easy demon. Okay, this is like... Okay. The Nightmare. Gotta go with the old classic, the Nightmare. Okay. Holy crap. Red and blue do not go together very well. A demon key! I love this song. This is actually a good song. Not a good level, but a good song. The Lightning Road. I've never seen this actually. Oh, I have seen that. What? 1.0 deco be like. Or like 1.3 I think it was. Endgame. Ooh, I want to use this level. Or, I want to use this song. You can hear me lose, yeah, I know. I'm not actually very good at, upside down ship gameplay. Nah, that was absolute decimation. Ouchies. Alright, come on, let's get the coin. Let's get the coin, y'all. It's actually not that hard. I feel like nowadays it would be like an insane or a harder or a demon. It'd be an insane or a harder level. Oh, speaking of war, I was gonna download War Thunder, which is the sponsor of today's video. Dude, I cannot control the ship while it's upside down. I like this level. This is a very nice level. Okay, so this is oh, it is a solid block. Okay, I don't know how you'd get that coin back. I want the second coin. Give me the coin. Actually, no, let's focus on actually beating the level before we get bougie like that. Dude. This is actually a level I could actually, like, play on stream. Like how I am right now. Speed Racer. Damn. That was fully luck. That was also luck. No way I'm doing that again. X. You mean Twitter? How am I supposed to... Oh, I thought that was just deco. Dude, how are we... Dude. Oh my god, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Death Moon. I've heard of this level, I've never seen it before. No. I spy with my little eye. I've also seen this one. Yeah, okay, so this is an art level, basically. X Step V2. It's these simple levels that are always the best levels. A hint of nostalgia, if you will. Dear nostalgists, literally the next level. Dude, what am I? What? I got 4, nice. Once I hit 500 mana orbs, I'm gonna buy something. Oh my god, dude, 5 more. Come on. Yes, I can finally stop playing these levels. Finally. Oh, you need mana orbs to do those paths. Okay, or paths in general. That's not a demon, shut up. I know that's not a demon. Okay, blue shards. Yo, hold on. I can be... It works! I see! Yes! I can be Space UK. I can be Space UK, guys. Dude, I can be Space UK. Where's my icon? Where's my new icon? Yes! Alright, and change my colors to... I don't have white. Okay, color 1, and then how do you get... Oh. Okay. Let's beat Time Machine. No comment. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Skullhead. I can't look at your messages right now. I am locked in. Hey, what are you using to record? I am using, NVIDIA. Yeah, I need to get a better software. I am using NVIDIA. NVIDIA. The freezes when you get into the level. Why is that? I'm gonna need to fix that, because if I don't fix that, then the Pookies watching my videos won't be able to watch my streams. I hope that doesn't happen during, like, videos, too. Dude! 29%. Okay. Damn it! I shouldn't have gone for the coin. Electrodynamics is what they chose. I don't know how I got that guessing part correct the first try. Oh my gosh. Alright, one behind that is Electroman Adventures. This is actually a really good level. I think this might take the cake. Other than Dash is my favorite level. Because it just mirrors the screen getting larger. My dude, what is it with that second column? I actually did not mean to do that. To scream at you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Oh, of course. Yeah, Marvel Rivals. Just wanted to get a feel for the game. My NVIDIA Core Series S GPU let's play some of the tower. Use OBS. I'll get OBS eventually. Okay, let's do this. Dude, what? Oh my god, dude. I've never actually done this before, so bear with me, guys. After this, I'll play some Minecraft. Alright. Let's play some Minecraft! Is OBS free? Oh. Aaron, how does my avatar look? Rate my avatar. Rate my avatar. Can you see it?
A few months back, I built this interesting prototype for an omnidirectional treadmill. Depending on the angle I tilt these rotating discs, the platform on top can move in any direction. The one thing that really held this design back from being truly great is that we have to use a really wide platform like this to ensure that it's always supported by multiple discs. You can see that a smaller platform like this will just get stuck. In fact, even this large platform isn't actually big enough and will still slip between the discs if I move it into just the wrong spot. The solution, of course, is to use much smaller discs, and a lot of them, to cover the same area while having a lot more points of contact. The smaller I can make the discs, the more this will really feel like one cohesive floor that can slide in any direction. If I was going to do this, I wanted to take this idea as far as I could and make the smallest tilting discs possible within the LEGO system. That meant using these 1x1 tiles, since they're no bigger than the universal joints I need to have under each of them to let me rotate them regardless of what angle they're tilted at. We really can't get much more compact than this. So going from 6x6 to 1x1 discs like this, we'll be able to move around objects as small as this, as opposed to the massive platform we had to use before. To make this work, I knew I'd have two major challenges: to design some kind of holder mechanism that lets me control which direction all of these discs tilt in, and to power every single one of these discs, remembering of course that they all have to be rotating in the same direction. I honestly thought that the first of these challenges was going to be the toughest to solve, given that the mechanisms I used on the original treadmill to control the angle, which are these holders under the discs that can rotate in two different axes, are really big. But I really didn't see how I could make a design like this much smaller out of LEGO, let alone 1x1 small. That all changed when a very smart commenter had the brilliant idea of using a LEGO net piece. And what a good idea it turned out to be, so a massive thank you for that. The crisscrossed ropes fit perfectly between the discs and let me guide all of them in any direction. And since the discs naturally want to fall one way or the other, it's fine that we don't have a perfectly rigid connection between the net and the discs, as they'll want to stay tilted in whatever direction we've pushed them into. One thing to note is that this kind of set the scale for the size of this mini treadmill, as I'm going to call it. The net piece has 10x10 slots, so that kind of limits the treadmill to this size. I could probably use overlapping nets like this to expand it, but for the moment I'm going to stick to this 10x10 grid. Which brings me to that second challenge. Every axle in this 10x10 grid has to be individually powered to power all the discs, and they all have to be rotating in the same direction. Little did I know that getting this one function to work would be the cause of literal months of head scratching and tried and failed ideas and designs. But after a lot of work, this is what I came up with. There were a lot of twists and turns in the process to finally reach this solution, so let's dive right in. My most basic idea was just to throw down a whole grid of gears. That was what I did on the original treadmill design, but since we need all discs to rotate the same way, we need what are called idler gears between each disc, since two meshing gears will rotate in opposite directions. So if you imagine this is just 1/4 of the full 10x10 grid we'll need to power the mini treadmill, On this, half of the gears are rotating the wrong way, so they're basically just functioning as idler gears. These 8-tooth gears are the smallest gears LEGO makes, so using this approach,
How do you
the
like
best
my
we can
avatar?
do is to only have one of every 2 gears being used to power discs. Obviously, I wouldn't still be able to use the 1x1 discs here, since it leaves all of these holes where discs can't be powered. But technically this could work if I found bigger discs, which are about 1.4 studs wide. But a treadmill like that would have been really inferior to the version I'll go on to make in this video, where
Rate
every
my
axle
skin.
gets powered, especially
Well.
since we're limited to that 10x10 size because of the net piece. Next up, I thought, what if we had 2 layers of gears like this? The bottom layer gives us half of the axles rotating the right way, and then we drive the missing spots on this upper layer. But to power these upper gears, we really need a gear like this, where the gear itself can rotate independently of the axle passing through its center, but at the same size as these 8-tooth gears. But sadly, no such piece exists. I had the slightly wacky idea of replacing the grey axles with
That
these
looks kinda
thin
funny, though.
rods, since regular
look kinda
8-tooth
funny.
gears can slide around them freely, and so we could use them to power the inner gears. But then how do we make sure the bottom gears don't slide on them? I guess I could glue them in place, but at this point I realised I was just drifting further and further into silliness with this idea. So instead of gears, I thought about what mechanisms can rotate 2 adjacent axles in the same direction, since that's what we're trying to do. The 2 main options are belts and chains. The one benefit of belts is that I can connect them to axles directly next to each other, which isn't the case with chains. However, even the smallest size of LEGO rubber bands are too big for this, and I'd have to connect it around 4 axles instead to make sure the band stays taut. But since the band is only in contact with a quarter of the pulleys on each axle, there isn't much grip at all, and I can easily stop the axles. Also, just using this single rubber band, there's already a lot more friction than you'd expect, so there's absolutely no way I'd be able to use 25 of these to power the full 10x10 grid. This really showed that LEGO's own rubber bands really just don't work that well as belts like this. But, knowing that belts still had a lot of potential in compact areas like this, I thought I'd try out some non-LEGO rubber bands. These tiny, transparent rubber bands, if you can see them at all, turned out to be a perfect fit. It's a bit of a tight fit getting them around 2 axles, but because of that, they're really grippy, surprisingly so, to the point that I thought these could be strong enough to power every single axle for the treadmill. Also, they've got way less friction than the LEGO rubber bands did, probably because their inside surface is flat, as opposed to the rounded LEGO bands. Seems perfect, right? Well, unfortunately, even if there's low friction when we're driving a single one of these belts, that friction will add up really fast once we've got 100 of these, which is what we'll need to power all 100 axles in the 10x10 grid. To get a feel for how much friction we'd actually be dealing with, I used the rubber bands to power this 5x5 grid of axles. I know they're pretty hard to see, but they're all there. So this uses 24 bands and accounts for a quarter of the full grid. And just giving it a quick turn manually, there's unfortunately a ton of friction, and you can see that the majority of the axles don't even turn. The way I've configured this here is that the rubber bands couple each of these 5 axles together, and then these are each coupled to every axle along these rows. So turning this back right one, after just 1 or 2 axles of transmission, the rubber bands do just start slipping, and the rest of the axles don't turn. So based on this configuration, this axle will be able to power the most other axles before the bands start slipping, but even this way, only about half of them turn, and there's still a huge amount of friction. So instead of driving every axle directly with these belts, I thought back to that grid of gears I tried before. Since only half the axles could be used, as the other half are rotating the wrong way, we could use these belts only to fill in the gaps, by driving each axle off of one of these that's already powered by the gears below. This means each belt now only needs to drive 1 axle, so we shouldn't run into any slipping issues. And trying to turn it, yeah, now every axle does rotate, but man, there's a lot of friction, to the point that it felt like these gears were about to snap. Given that this is just 1/4 of the full grid, and even this way, when I tried driving it with a motor, with a big gear reduction, the motor stalled within a few seconds, I knew that this idea wouldn't be the way forward. I will say though, these belts still are great for compact mechanisms like this, and as a small spoiler, they ended up playing a crucial role in the final design. So I've left a link to them down in the description. I'm not affiliated or anything, but I'm sure some of you might find them helpful in your own builds. They come in batches of 1,000, so you'll have plenty of spares, and you'll probably need them, because if you drop one of these, chances are it's lost forever. So after that, I went back to see if chains would be a better option. A big benefit of chains is that they'll never slip, but unfortunately we can't place the two sprockets directly next to each other, as they'll just mesh, which will stop them from rotating in the same direction. So instead, I thought about using one long chain to power a whole bunch of axles at once. I can't put gears in every position since they'd end up meshing, but I can fit in half the positions and then use a second layer with a second chain to power the other positions. Immediately though, it turned out this idea was fundamentally flawed, because the teeth of these 8-tooth gears are actually too short to connect to the chain links, so the chain just slides right past them. But if I go up to the larger 12-tooth gears like this, sure, the chain drives these 5 positions, but the gears are too big to fit between the axles for the second layer. So again, we'd be stuck only powering half of the axles. And also, fitting 10 rows of these next to each other probably wouldn't be the easiest job. Next, I thought that, even though the chain links can't power these 8-tooth gears, a gear rack certainly can. So maybe I could create a belt lined with these gear racks to continuously brush past the gears. But with a quick proof of concept version, I could tell that this wasn't going to be a viable design, and of course extending this to multiple rows of axles would be extremely tough. So finally, what did I come up with? Well, I thought about, what if instead of trying to power all 100 axles with a single repeating mechanism, I segment the full 10x10 grid into chunks, and then design a mechanism that just powers every single axle within one chunk. Then I just need to make sure the chunks can fit seamlessly next to one another, and we'll have our full grid powered. It was pretty clear from the start that 3x3 chunks would be the way to go here. That's because just using 5 gears in a cross shape like this, I'll already have 4 of the 9 axles rotating the right way, which just leaves these 4 corners and the center to work on. 3x3 chunks does unfortunately mean the full grid will have to be 9x9 instead of 10x10, but this really was the best option. So let's start work on it. For the 4 corner positions, I realised that I could just run a line of gears in a C-shape round like this, to get all 4 corners rotating the same way. Now I'll just add on another frame to the bottom. So now, turning the central axle drives the 4 grey axles, and turning this second axle drives the 4 corners. Note that for the 8 axles to rotate all the same way, these 2 driving axles need to rotate in opposite directions. That means we need to connect them with a single pair of gears, as gears in an L shape like this will rotate the same way. So what options do we have? 8-tooth gears are too small, and the next size up, 12-tooth gears, are just slightly too big. They'd mesh perfectly with a 0.5 stud gap, but here we've got a 0.4 stud gap, so they're just barely too big, so there's a lot of friction trying to turn them. I first tried just meshing them further out, so the axles have room to spread out a little. Definitely not a legal building technique, and it means the axles aren't as secure, but more importantly, there's still a lot of friction because the gears are being squashed together. You may not think it's that big a deal, but since we'll have 9 of these chunks, every bit of friction counts. I tried every combination of the different 12-tooth gear variations, spur, double bevel, even single bevel, but they all had too much friction. So finally, I decided if these gears want to be 0.5 studs apart, I'll make them 0.5 studs apart. I connected one of them through a universal joint and built this holder to keep the gears at just the right distance apart. Is it compact?
Dirt
no.
tower.
Is it over-engineered? Maybe, a little. Does it work though?
I see a lot of light.
And when I've got
There
9
might
of
be
these
a
next to
base
each
over
other,
here.
I'm betting it'll look pretty cool. There's almost no friction, and by driving the central axle, all 8 of the surrounding ones rotate in the correct direction. That just leaves the central axle, which, if I were to just drive it up straight from the bottom, would be rotating the wrong way. And this was where those tiny rubber bands were the absolute perfect fit. And since I'm only using 1 of them in each chunk, we'll only have a total of 9 of them in the full grid, so they won't add much friction at all. With this one chunk completed, we just need to make sure these chunks can fit seamlessly next to one another to form the full grid. You may have noticed that above each set of gears, I've left a layer of bushings like this. Then, on the next chunk, I'll swap round the position of the gears and the bushings, and that way, none of the gears will run into each other. This will be clearer to see now as I assemble the full
Get some
grid.
tools
This
right
is the
off
lower
the
layer
bat.
of gears in those C-shapes I explained before to power the corner axles of each chunk. And you can see that they're arranged in this checkerboard pattern so that the gears of each chunk don't interlock. Next, I'm
gonna
securing it in place, and from that,
These
I've
up
added
them
on the
just so
second
they know
layer
they've
of
been
gears
robbed.
in the cross shapes to power all the grey axles. And now I've
Holy
added on the
crap.
final layer with those tiny rubber bands to power the central axle of each chunk. And then, flipping it upside down, I've now added on all the pairs of 12-tooth gears. And now I've added on the housings to hold all those gears in place with this intricate assembly. I've now added these gear trains to drive all the central
crap.
axles. And after building a proper support frame, I can throw on the motors
this.
to power each of those 3 gear trains. With that all done, let's give it a quick test.
Oh, people have been robbed here before. Yeah, their chests have been cleared.
So each of these axles will have one of
Holy
these
crap, so
tilting
there's
disc
something went
assemblies on
down
top
here.
of it.
Something totally
But
went
first,
down
I've
here.
got to design a mechanism to move around the net piece that will be tilting all of them. To do that, I built this frame that lets the net housing
Yo.
slide in both
Boo.
directions.
Boo.
And in order
Join
to control
radio
this
frequency
movement,
1.
I designed this joystick mechanism.
Am I
which
required
Hello?
shoots out the
Am I
joystick's
required?
motion into its
We're all
components
playing a
in
different
each
game. We're playing
direction,
different.
which
We're not playing Epic
independently
Games.
drive
Sorry.
each of these 2 sets of
Am I
linkages.
required to?
And after a bit of work, I
Well,
managed
you're
to
in
link
here
up the
alone.
joystick to
Would
the
you
net
rather be in
assembly,
here
so I can
alone
easily
90% of the
control its
time, or
movement
would
in
you
both
rather play with others?
directions. And I've also
Well,
added
right
an
now,
on-off
A, I'm
switch
playing
for the
Minecraft, and
motors.
B, I'm streaming. So I'm just in.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
You may have noticed that the direction the net moves is actually shifted by 90 degrees to the direction I point the joystick. That's entirely by design, and it's part of the reason I had to use so many linkages like this. You see, on any treadmill like this, if we say the discs are rotating clockwise for example, then if I tilt them forwards, the top edge of the discs are moving this way, so any object on them will move to the right. And similarly, if I tilt them left, the discs will now move any object this way. So you can see on this version, where the discs tilt in the same direction as the joystick, the direction the platform moves is shifted round by 90 degrees, which is really counterintuitive and hard to control. Whereas here, I've coupled it so the direction I point the joystick is actually the direction the treadmill will move, even though the net moves a different way. And to show that, the last job was to finally connect on all those tiny tilting discs.
Alright, let's start from scratch. Three weekends from now on Saturday we can play Minecraft. Alright. Yo. There's a person here with diamond gear. What? Dude. Hold on.
Well, that's the video. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and while there are loads more tests I'd like to do with it, I think those will fit best in another video. So thanks for watching,
Okay.
and I'll see you then.
I'm going on my merry way.
I have 12 emails, 30 messages, and a proposal due by 10. How am I already underwater?
I'm in the same boat.
I'm in an actual boat.
I thought Grammarly just fixed grammar. They make boats now?
It's more of a metaphorical boat. Because I've been using Grammarly's AI for years to keep me high and dry.
Quoi? D'accord. Ok. D'accord, ok, what? Quoi? Mais... Hein? Allô?
In Marco's clip, we can observe the two key pieces of evidence that the glitch happened. First is that the race end jingle plays way earlier than we expect.
270. Quoi?
Leaving the rest of the race in complete silence. The second is that the game says Marco's pick, the gold dog, got second place despite reaching the actual finish line region before any of the other dogs. But this lines up with what we expect. Some other dog, one of the other 13 anyway, landed on the ethereal line I described before, triggering the end of race jingle early and claiming the coveted first place title from the rest of the dogs who all had to finish the race legitimately. With this in mind, let's take a look at the clip of the first known instance of the glitch occurring.
Go, Frankersy! I don't know what message you had, but hopefully it's a good one. I need him to speed up right about now. Can he speed up? It doesn't look really that fast. Wait! What did the music just do? He won, but... what just happened? Oh my god. That makes no sense. That's the sound, like... It shouldn't... the music... that sound it made, it shouldn't make until...
Did you notice what was odd there? Despite the glitch clearly happening with the early race end jingle, Tread's chosen dog is still deemed to have won the race. This means that not only did Gold Dog finish first legitimately, but it was also the lucky dog that triggered the glitch, meaning it would have won no matter where it ended up finishing at the end of the race. This isn't really relevant to the topic at hand. I don't want to talk about Gold Dog any more than I need to, but this occurrence is just so unbelievably lucky that I had to bring it up in the video. Now, where does this leave us for Blue Dog's chances? Well, initially, our endeavors did not net great results. Earlier this year, I ran a charity fundraiser, attempting over 1,300 races picking Blue Dog, hoping to get the long-awaited victory, but alas, not only did I fail at getting a Blue Dog victory, I wasn't able to get the glitch to occur a single time. It didn't seem completely out of the question. After all, people regularly attempt Pokemon shiny hunts, doing significantly more attempts than this, but without knowing the true odds, it was hard to say if I was really chasing my white whale. After all, even if the glitch was proven possible, what if the game's parameters only allowed for certain dogs to trigger the glitch? What if there's a finite number of possible dog races that can happen, and none of them result in Blue Dog triggering the glitch? Well, to answer that question, let's take a moment to talk about the variables that go into the race's outcome. The obvious one is the arrangement of conditions the dogs are randomly assigned upon loading the racetrack area.
Okay,
but the second variable is how the game determines randomness through its RNG function. Earlier, I talked about how dogs have specific speed values, and how these speed values are used to determine how far they move along the track each frame. But I glossed over an important detail. Every frame, each dog will have a random fluctuation between negative 0.5 and positive 0.5 added to its base speed value. This means, in addition to the condition the dog is assigned, each frame, the game will make 14 calls to the RNG function in order to determine the dog's actual speed for that frame. While explaining the finer details of how RNG functions work is well outside the scope of this video, and there's plenty of resources out there if you're interested in the topic, the good news is that RNG's role in this race is actually rather simple. Because the race runs automatically, the number of RNG calls the game will make during the race is consistent, and a race that starts on a certain RNG value, assuming the dogs have consistent conditions, will always end in the same result. More simply put, the only RNG value that matters for the dog race is the value
What
on
is
the
this?
frame
I
that you
have
start
to use
the
the
race.
crafting menu now?
This tangent, of course, is all to derive the answer to the question I asked
This
earlier
a
about
the
how many
dried
possible
kelp block
dog
is a
races can the
lucky
game
block?
produce. Now that we've established what the possible variables are, we can come up with the correct answer. Beginning with the dog's conditions, this number is actually
Dude.
smaller than you might think, because the game will always
am
arrange
I
it
gonna
such
smell
that
the
4
word?
dogs have the good condition, 5 have the neutral condition, and 5 have the bad condition. This means that the total possible number of distribution you can have for these conditions
Wait, you
is
can't craft anything right now.
252,252. Okay, it's pretty big, but it's a start. Now for the number of possible RNG values, well, the RNG value in Majora's Mask is stored in memory as a float 32, which is a fancy way of saying the game allocates 32 bits in order to represent the different values it can contain. This means that there are 2 to the power of 32 possible RNG values, which is roughly 4.3 billion. Oh, and it gets worse because with the dog's conditions in play, we get to multiply one big number by a significantly bigger number and arrive at our answer. There are 1,83,414,090,350,592 possible dog races that the game can produce. Okay, so that's a lot, but there's good news and bad news with this number. The good news is that with so many different dog race possibilities, surely at least some of them result in Blue Dog triggering the glitch, right? The bad news? Realistically, we are never, ever going to get even close to this many attempts at the dog race. If I were to trigger a new dog race every second, it would take me 34 million years to reach that many attempts. Needless to say, you'd have to be a madman to even attempt this sort of thing.
Score up to 70% off clearance at Michael's. Shop big deals on Christmas and more. Get it before it's gone.
And that's when I heard from a user named Falkush, who had seen one of my prior videos on the Blue Dog subject, and got inspired to try and get a victory for himself. However, his approach differed from just loading up the game and running races in real time like I had done. Falkush had a different, but more intricate idea in mind. He had also taken inspiration from previous efforts to brute force the Mario Party minigame A Day at the Races, which, coincidentally, is also a race minigame where you choose between different competitors who have different base speed values and different random conditions. Anyway, he had wrote up a script to brute force the dog race with an emulator. Using the information discussed earlier about how the RNG values affect the dog race, this script would make a save state just
Breaking
before
is a
pressing
word.
A to initiate the race, then run the race at a much faster speed because you could do that with an emulator. And then after the race had concluded, the script would reload the save state, advance the game by 1 frame in order to change the RNG value, make a new save state, and run the race with that brand new RNG value and a brand new outcome. And how would he determine if Blue Dog had won? At first, I thought he was using a memory viewer to look at which dog had won, but it was in fact a much simpler approach. Falkush used an auto splitter, which is normally used for speedrunning console games to look for certain key frames and send commands to your splitting program. But here, he had cleverly leveraged it to look at the first section of the text displayed after the race. The dog race lady has unique dialogue for your dog getting first, second, third through fifth, and sixth or worse. So the auto splitter would look for one of these unique dialogue strings and record the race result so that he could observe it later. It would also record the number of frames the script waited before starting the race, so that he could manually load up the initial save and reproduce the race at a normal speed later on. So with this implemented, would this be enough to finally achieve a Blue Dog win? Well, after running the script for 3 days almost non-stop, generating 8,410 races, this happened.
currently am making friends. Sure you've never heard of it.
Can you believe it? The world's first ever Blue Dog victory. All thanks to the tiniest oversight in the code allowing for an early win. And with Falkish's effort to automate attempts, given the total number of possible races I discussed earlier, the fact that it only took around 8,000 attempts shows that the glitch might be more common than previously thought. And remember, this glitch isn't exclusive to Blue Dog. Although he didn't have an automated way to track the frequency of the glitch happening to any of the other dogs, he estimates that it has around a 1 in 1,000 chance of happening, and he did see it occur a few additional times through continued attempts. As a bonus, he included a clip he saw of Blue Dog getting a legitimate 4th place, which, to both of our knowledge, was the best we've ever seen our boy do outside of the glitch. And in his video description, he proclaimed a question: can the Blue Dog get better than 4th place without the glitch? Well, as it turns out, the story doesn't end here. Falkish was determined to figure out just how good the Blue Dog could perform without the glitch in play, and he had an idea of how to make this happen. Remember at the start of the video, I talked about how each dog had a predetermined base speed value that outlines its overall viability in the race? Well, Falkish had the idea to use this information to min-max the dog's conditions based on their speed, and thus generate optimal conditions for the Blue Dog. In simpler words, Blue Dog had to have the good condition, and the fastest overall dogs needed to have bad or neutral conditions. The result maximizes Blue Dog's chances for a victory. He again used a script to automate loading the racetrack area, look at each of the dog's conditions in memory, and reload it until it was arranged in a way that it was determined to be optimal for Blue Dog. I was initially skeptical, but 1 week after he sent me the first video, he messaged me again with a new video. Blue Dog,
dude.
2nd place, glitchless. Yes, indeed. He was able to find a way to get a legitimate 2nd place finish for Blue Dog using this min-max strategy.
He's hacking.
Given
He's
this
hacking.
result,
He's
Falkish
hacking.
was convinced
He's hacking.
that a legitimate
I'm
1st place
convinced he's
finish
hacking.
could happen.
I'm convinced he's hacking.
At this point, he was running his automated script on 2 separate computers, generating about 4,000 races per day on each machine. He was able to produce another 2nd place finish, a 3rd 2nd place finish. Seeing these gave him hope that a 1st place was somehow possible. After all this time, with virtually every top-level Majora's Mask player claiming that Blue Dog could never win the race, was it a myth this whole time? Surely, with how many people have attempted the race over the years, we would have seen this at least once by now, right? Well,
He's spawn
on the
killing.
evening
He's spawn
of
killing.
August
He's spawn
25th,
killing. Hold on.
2024,
Hold.
this happened.
I'm hiding from him. Thanks for the boost. Thanks for the boost. Thanks for the boost. Oh my god, dude.
And there you have it. After 30,000 total attempts, we have undeniable proof that, given the right conditions and enough dedication, it is indeed possible for Blue Dog to win the race legitimately. Perhaps it's entirely unlikely that a real human being would produce this under a real-time context, but that's besides the point. Blue Dog has spent his whole life being the laughing stock of the dog race minigame, and Majora's Mask players as a whole. But after all this time, we can bask in the glory of the ultimate underdog finally receiving the victory he's been waiting 25 years to achieve.
Yes! Okay, let's get the heck out of here.
Get out of my house.
Hold on. Get the videos. Ready? Hold on. Wait. This is gonna be it. I go.
Loot.
Oh shit. A nigga just broke the lights. Oh.
Snorlax.
That's right.
Dude, I found this guy's entire base.
The fucking rust on the con.
Can you eat stuff?
Donovan told me that these plates right here don't break.
They really don't break.
Okay, all I gotta do is stop it before 0, and I'm good. Is that a skill check? I hope nobody heard that.
Hey, check this thing out. What's this? Hey, that's pretty cool.
Sophie Lightning, and these are some tips and tricks from a pro nerfer that could help you win your next nerf battle.
I get a lot of hate on here. It doesn't really bother me. But here recently, they've been talking a lot of shit about my family. Mess with me all you want. I don't give a shit. Mess with them, and I'll be the last thing you see before you die.
If I could freeze time, you don't understand the things I would do.
What
Yo guys, it's 1:22 in the morning. We're making burritos. Yo, pass me that plate, man.
Gru, you might want to sit down for this one. I just solved the Five Nights at Freddy's drawing line.
Want to do something foolish?
You even have to ask.
Damn, Daniel! Damn, Daniel!
Eric, are you supposed to be sleeping right now?
I was just checking the time.
Are you watching Speed?
Yo, what's up with all this noise coming out the trash can, bruh? Ratatouille? Mickey? Hey, yo!
Alright guys, welcome back. It's time for the moment of truth. Is this an orange soda or a chocolate cake? Let's find out.
Man, what are you doing with the sword act? Okay. Here we go. No. We're completely fucked. We're completely fucked.
There better not be any ghosts in my room. If there's any ghosts in here, you better come out right now. I'm calling the priest again. Man, fuck you. 911, what's your emergency? I think there's someone in my house. Okay, sir, stay calm, but whatever you do, do not make any noise. Hey, it's not bored!
This is what your mom and dad does whenever they're in the room with their door locked.
Yeah, I know. Hey, this is where I was earlier.
Cinnamon sticks. Walk in. Like, I know he's recording, but I gotta be honest. My mental health is taking a rapid decline.
Shut up. Bro, is this like... Does autism give you these powers?
Yes, it does, actually.
Oh my God! The Ice Cream Man! At 12 midnight! Ice Cream Man! Let me get some ice cream! Nephew, can I get some ice cream?
I'm also dressed, and I made breakfast. Wait, where are my eggs?
In my belly.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
I'll spend that one more time in this server. I'm leaving.
Kasparov is conglomerating his pawns into a mega chessatron. It's not looking good for Short. Short's upgrading his queen to a hotel. Oh, very interesting. Kasparov's queen has been revealed to be an imitation, played very convincingly by Helen Mirren. She has won an Oscar there. But she will have to leave. She can, of course, leave in any direction she likes. Short, getting up on the chair. A lovely swing there. Kasparov, full house. Short, royal flush. Mrs. Bunderbaker, stone cold Steve Austin. And oh, this is extraordinary. Kasparov is pissing all over the board. But will he have the pressure to slew Short's king away? Yes, he's done it. Kasparov is the new world new chess champion. So well done there to Kasparov and his capacious bladder. And commiserations, of course, to Short.
Come on, Jimmy, you gotta have something.
Sorry, dude. There's nothing I can do, muscle man.
Jimmy, come on, Jimmy. You know.
How do you feel?
I feel...
My room looks really normal until you see the virginity corner.
There was no point when that room looked normal. Shit was like...
So I come home from school, right? My dog absolutely terrorized my room. Nah, don't be happy. But the thing is, bro, how did you put the TV upside down, bro?
Man, I cannot see a thing. I need to turn up my render distance.
Oh! Greetings!
I want to give a quick shout out to all my blind fans. If you're blind, I think you're awesome and way cooler than deaf people.
Give me the plan.
Tell me what's classified.
The plan.
Sir, I got me the Xbox. What is that?
What?
I'm gay for you, and you're gay for me.
Spider-Man, why are you gay for that guy? I'm not. He's talking stupid.
What's the name of that mouse from that movie Stuart Little? Not sure. I'm still trying to figure out the name of that donkey from Shrek. I legitimately fucking hate both of you.
You can unlock doors, sneak past guards, climb the wall, but if you don't take out that monkey, you ain't going nowhere. You want to get out of here? Get rid of that monkey.
Yo, I'm just gonna check out this fast really quick.
Alright, I'm gonna place on the chest.
Now, occasionally you're going to get stuck. It's nothing to get upset about. Don't go hurling your controller at the cat, because it might throw something back and it'll only escalate and then, oh.
How fascinating. Did you know that 94% of all people who select that particular button are sexual predators?
これは試練だ。
Dude, this is sick. This is the Five Nights at Freddy's song. That's so cool. How did they do that?
Hello?
So I work in a movie theater, and we have to check the theaters at night. You know, once you're done closing as an usher, you just flash the camera. You gotta check the door, and then you have to check behind these curtains just to make sure no hobos are back here. You know, no one's back here. And then you just go and... What the fuck?
Carl, I don't know how to say this, so I'll whisper it in Sheen's ear and he'll blurt it out in astonishment.
Carl is pregnant?
No. 1 minute. Fuck it.
Guys, I've finally done it. My fully automatic Super Smelter 9000 is complete. Equipped with over 70 furnaces, hundreds of hoppers, and more redstone than I can count, this contraption can burn through almost 15,000 pieces of coal per hour, all contained within this compact windowless room. And after 2 months of living and working in here, I can finally rest knowing that... What is that? A note from my doctor? Lung cancer?
Woo! What the fuck? Mother...
You don't have a double chin. What you do have is bad posture. So all you need to do is 2 steps. Bring your shoulders up, back, and down. Bring your chin slightly forward and then slightly down, and look at the difference that makes.
Oh, look at that. You found it.
I found it.
That means we can fix your car.
Man, my mama got me a new bro. I can't make nothing. I'm finna go home. Almost broken or something. I ain't mama to return this junk. Man, this man must have forgot what I was wearing. Yoink. Yoink. Slap this on. Slap this on. Oh, gee, this shit get stuck.
Benson! Who's this friend of yours?
You got a little flat here on the candy.
Oh, Benson! What are you letting him do? Oh! Muscle Man, look at what you're doing. What? Hey, yo, Benson! What's going on, bro? Hey, yo! Back up, Benson! What the?
You know what?
I know. You know.
How much do you know?
You didn't know. I knew, but now you know. I know.
So I guess we both know.
Why? The Ku Klux Klan! I
No.
Go, Benson! What the?
I know.
You know what?
I know. You know.
How much do you know?
You didn't know. I knew, but now you know. I know.
So I guess we both know.
Why?
The Ku Klux Klan!
I put your new 40s on the G. I came into the bloody bottoms on the knee. Cause all my niggas got it.
Guys, I looked up Mort from Madagascar, and I saw he had like parents. So I looked up the dad, and this is him, and his nickname's Pop Pop. But he has a reason for death, and it's killed by Mort whilst trying to absorb Mort's essence. What does that mean?
So to protect the baby and prevent it from eating a pod, the box deploys a 30,000 volt taser.
Wait a minute. Oh no. I've been looking at her too long. Something's happening. Ah! Oh no!
I am nobody's master, got it? I don't want you here, and I don't want you here. I'm stuck with you. You.
You can't lie. So tell me, puppet, where is Shrek?
Can't look up.
I don't know where he's not.
You're telling me you don't know where Shrek is?
It wouldn't be inaccurate to assume that I couldn't exactly not say that is or isn't almost partially incorrect.
So you do know where he is?
On the contrary, I'm possibly more or less not definitely rejecting the idea.
Candle time, yeah,
With any amount of uncertainty that I undeniably do or do not know where he should and probably be. If that indeed wasn't where he isn't, even if he wasn't not where I knew he was, could mean.
It is time to embrace the sweetness of death.
Realizing 2014 is only 3 months away. Yeah.
No, I'm not ready at all. Get back. I got lots more plans. This is just a minor setback in a major operation. As soon as I whip up another spell, you'll be back in business. I still got that frog and Prince locked away. I just need a little more time. Oh, please help me. Just a little more time. I promise I'll pay you back. I promise.
This is gonna be it. This is gonna be a beautiful candle, guys. Or my guy. There's gotta be something better.
Oh, I got a little tiny pee-pee. No, I'm not playing with it. Don't make me laugh.
Right here. All your needs will be met. I'm hungry. In a minute.
Go now, he's not looking.
Here.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me. Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use. Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use. Hello, your computer has virus.
Guys? Is this Freddy Fazbear?
Sam. Oh shit. Yo, no.
Okay, nope. I'm good. Alright, he ain't catching me down here, bro.
Yo, what the fuck was that noise? What?
6 minutes.
Get your net! Get your fucking net! Clear. What are you doing? Stop! Stop!
嘿嘿，多谢这个手机壳，救了我手机一命。
C'est quoi? Alright, most of you guys have been asking me to show off my new phone, which is the LG Wing. You know, it's really not that fancy, just a new smartphone. Its big feature is it's got the double screw.
And I now present this fucking thing.
Hey, what are you thinking? If you're flying through the desert and your boat gets a flat tire, what should you have in your pockets?
Blue, because ice cream doesn't have bones.
Yes.
How's that?
Come on, Captain Crunch. Give me a sign. Oh, shit.
Drive by.
Did you know? 1981 was the year that...
Ooh, you already know!
Not again. God damn it, hold on. Pardon me. Excuse me. Thank you. What kind of rat am I?
His testicle sack is now so large, he has to wear a huge hoodie upside down instead of trousers.
What a lovely day at the nuclear reactor. I'm dead now, aren't I?
Describe yourself in a Pixar quote.
You know, I am so romantic sometimes I think I should just marry myself.
I'll kidnap 1,000 children.
Again, very classical, but not quite what we're after, really. That's the fucking theme to Angry Birds.
It's a girl!
Guys, look, it's the Loax.
Dude, it has been forever since I've played Wii Fit. Alright, I gotta see if this still holds up.
I like watching videos of black men shaking their booty cheeks.
Check out this awesome 3D print that I printed. You might be wondering,
man, you can't be playing like that. I thought that shit was a butt plug.
Alright, that's my build, that's my build. What else can I add? What else can I add? Oh, what else? What else? What else? What else? Ooh, I can add a chest full of candles. Nope. That's all I got. This is what ADHD brings me.
Bring your boys for its Sigma time.
What was that?
New soundboard stuff.
Oh. I've been streaming
Yeah.
the whole time, so. Ooh, this is actually really good.
You're streaming to like Twitch?
YouTube.
Sigma time.
Actually, hold on. Next one, Skullhead. Skullhead next time. Rate my one. Okay. Yeah, actually, rate my, I'm going to do... Okay. I'm gonna do hide and seek. Rate my hiding spot. Ooh, this would be a good spot. Let's do oak leaves. And let's go... Okay. No. Alright. How's this? Oh, these are oak planks. Okay, goodbye. That's a secret. Oh my god, if they don't find me. Dude, I don't know how they won't find me. I am done for. There's no... Oh. Everybody else just like... No. At first glance, this kind of looks good. Ooh. Okay, goodbye. Hurry up and lose. No way. No way, dude. He's a bot. No way he didn't see that. Bot! No friggin' way! How did he not see me? Taunting. Godlike. This is godlike. This is godlike. And then I'm just gonna move. Okay, goodbye. I might not be there, but I'll try. Am I just gonna live this whole time?
Please welcome an absolutely new Crossout, a free-to-play multiplayer action game about battles and cool vehicles.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Kerbal Space Program video, and in today's Kerbal Space Program video we're going to be doing one of my favourite things to do in this game, that is recreate a ship from alternate history. And by that I mean we're going to take a rocket that was designed but never left the drawing board. And this time, we're going to be building the legendary Sea Dragon rocket. And, you know, a lot of people have requested me to make a Sea Dragon. It's one of my most requested video topics, in fact. So, hopefully you guys enjoy the next 20 minutes or so as we, you know, do this. So, in terms of building the Sea Dragon, one of the most difficult things to do is the gigantic engine at the bottom of the stack. 5 meters is the biggest diameter for parts in this game, so that's the scale I'm using. But there are no 5 meter sized engines in Kerbal Space Program, and the next biggest engine after that is the Mammoth engine, which is far too small for the Sea Dragon. So what I've done, as you can see, is I've built a custom engine bell out of the fairing pieces, and I've sort of clipped a few Mastodon engines. I believe there's 6 Mastodon engines inside the engine bell itself, just to sort of act as a custom stock engine solution. I mean, I guess the easier way would be to use the Rhino engine and use a mod like Tweak Scale to make it bigger and more in line with what the Sea Dragon looks like, but I wanted to do it without mod, so this is the solution I've gone with. As for the upper stages, you can see me constructing them here. We have the big Rhino engine that will serve as the main engine of the upper stage, and you can see just below it I'm adding lots of parachutes, and I clipped some inflatable heat shields into the lower stage just there, because one of the big things that the Sea Dragon would have had would have been inflatable bags that would have slowed down the lower stage, allow it to land and potentially be reused. Not every kind of scenario in which the Sea Dragon was pitched included stage recovery, but a lot of concepts did, so that's why I've decided to incorporate that into the lower stage. So you can see me constructing here, we've got these 4 side-mounted engines here, which is like one of the more interesting design features of the Sea Dragon, and if you look at a artist's impression or schematic of a Sea Dragon rocket, you'll see that they're kind of encased in a little pointed aerodynamic housing, so I tried to mimic that look by using those triangular wing pieces just there. As for the upper stage, it's just going to be like an Apollo-looking command module. It's going to go to the moon. It's going to be a direct ascent mission as well, because while the Saturn V was too small for a direct ascent moon mission, the Sea Dragon was not. It was an absolute behemoth of a rocket, and it would have like a direct ascent moon landing could well be within its limits if it was ever built, which it wasn't, so we'll never know. And who knows if it would have been rated for humans. I mean, the whole point of the Sea Dragon was that it'd be really, really quick to build, really, really cheap to build as well. The idea was that it would get built at a seaside shipyard. It was made out of relatively cheap and durable materials, stainless steel sheeting, that sort of thing. And there was going to be very, very wide margins for error with the engineering to ensure that it would be as reliable and reusable as possible. I love it. It's one of those Kerbal rocket designs ever. And as you can see, I have now got it in the water, being towed along by 2 boats, because the Sea Dragon was so massive, it would have obliterated its launch pad if it were launched from the land, and obviously, being such a big rocket, it would have to be very, very far away from literally anything, because it would have been so loud. And again, the flame from that enormous first engine stage would have just destroyed. It would have been very destructive, basically. So launching it from the sea was the only option, really, hence why it's called the Sea Dragon. Here you can see me towing it out just here. You may have noticed that we've got quite a substantial amount of ore tanks at the back, and the reason those are there is because when we get to our, launch site, which isn't going to be too far, I'm not going to spend ages towing it out to sea, I'm just showing you the concept here. Once we get to our launch site, we're going to need to flip it into a vertical position, which means we need some sort of ballast at the back that'll weigh the ship down from the back and flip it into the vertical takeoff position. So I've got ore tanks here. The real Sea Dragon would have used just water tanks, so it would have got to its location it needed to go to. The tanks would then fill with water and sink the engine bell down, aligning the rocket into the right position. You can see one of the ships has flipped over a little bit. We didn't want that to happen. I just kind of, the illusion of the ships towing the Sea Dragon along has sort of been shattered in that moment. I literally just attached them radially to the Sea Dragon rocket and then used the offset tool to drag them forwards a bit to make it look like they were towing it, but now we've decoupled them. The illusion falls to pieces. So we can just quickly recover them and get to the launch of the Sea Dragon. Now, as I said, in reality, the Sea Dragon would have just had a big empty tank there that would then fill with seawater and drag it down. We can't do that in Kerbal Space Program. So instead, I'm just going to use HyperEdit to just fill those tanks with ore. I could have done it manually, but it would have taken a very, very long time. We've got 110,400 units of ore. that we need to fill. So I thought, let's just use HyperEdit to fill them quickly, because again, this is just meant to simulate a water tank filling with seawater. So I feel like in this instance, it's an acceptable use of HyperEdit, and really, you know, the key feature of this video is the rocket itself, not the ballast that flips it the right way up. So hopefully you guys can forgive me on this one. Anyway, we're now going to watch it flip itself up, which was a very, 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 very slow process. I've sped the video up 12 times faster than normal speed, and as you can see, I've also got 4 times physical time warp on as well. So it took a while to get flipped up into the correct position, but I didn't want to rush it. I didn't want it to flip too quickly because I don't want it wobbling itself to pieces, things breaking, anything else that we don't want. But Jebediah, Bill, and Bob, we want them to be safe for their historic moon mission aboard this absolute monstrosity of a rocket. Anyway, I think we're not really that far from landfall, are we? I think we're pretty much ready to launch this thing. We're going to do a nice cinematic zoom down. You can see, oh, I get chills seeing it like loom ahead, just coming out of the blue. Anyway, first thing we're going to do is press number 1 on our keyboard. Well, we're going to turn the engines on first, but then we're going to press 1 on our keyboard action groups. That's going to deploy those struts that are holding it in place. We're then going to separate the ballast tank. We're then going to breach the surface, and as we do, we can fire up that massive lower engine, or in this case, the 6 Mastodon engines hiding inside a fairing, and we can begin our ascent. And as you can see, this thing is very, 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 very powerful. The payload isn't particularly huge, to be fair, but nonetheless, we have got a fair old amount of thrust going. You can see our surface speed is flying up.
Dude.
As are we. So I'm just going to throttle down to just 50% throttle to make sure this thing doesn't go too fast too soon. At the end of the day, if you go way too fast in the lower atmosphere, then you're just going to waste a load of fuel just fighting the air resistance. It makes more sense to kind of go at a slower pace and not waste so much time fighting heat resistance. I made a little quick save just there, because I'm going to showcase the stage recovery here. So we've got those drogue chutes there, and as they deploy, you can also press action group 3, I believe, or action group 2 actually. And that will deploy the inflatable heat shields, and this thing can then coast down to the sea. And then once we get a little bit lower, they've now deployed, those main chutes there have deployed, and it reduces our descent speed down to a nice, safe velocity. Or at least so I thought. As you can see, the engine bell did not survive. In fact, it pinged and it multiplied, and it made 6 new engines. So that's what engines do when they reach the end of their life. They jump into the sea and they multiply. I don't really know what I'm trying to say here, but anyway, we can go back to that quick save I made and then continue with the flight, because unfortunately a recovery of that nature is not possible in stock Kerbal Space Program. We have to kind of do a quick save, and I can just show you it being recovered, but then we have to quick load back to where we quick saved and continue with the flight, expending the lower stage. I mean, it's fine. Loudon Aerospace, we're a wealthy company, and you know, it's science mode in Kerbal Space Program, so funds are not an issue. So we've got those big arms just there with the RCS thrusters on that upper stage. They're just going to keep ourselves nice and steady. Our thrust weight ratio, despite the 5 engines, is not great here, so we have to hold a fairly steep angle of attack for quite a while actually to make sure our apoapsis ends up leaving the atmosphere. We don't end up just getting to apoapsis and then falling back down to Kerbin. But you know, our apoapsis is now 100 kilometers, which is a nice safe altitude. We can just, well, I guess that's it. We can just deploy the launch escape system just there. We no longer need that. And then we can just cruise, you know. We've got just about 10 kilometers to go before we reach space. So we can just shut down those 4 peripheral engines and get ready to fire that Rhino. We're going to make a maneuver node to the moon. Ah, what a twist. But which moon are we going to? Well, it seemed silly to just waste a rocket like this going to Kerbin's Mun, because you know, it's a huge rocket. We've got so much Delta V. We could do so much more. So why not go to a different planet's moon? Juna's moon. Let's go to Ike, because we like Ike here at Loudon Aerospace. And I thought, I don't know, the twist seemed funny to me when I thought of it. Like, hey, I could blow everyone's minds. Maybe. I don't know. Now I say it out loud, it wasn't quite so funny. But hey, if you guys are enjoying this video, then I'm going to do a shameless plug. Why not leave a little like? Yeah, get a little like. Let's see if we can get 100 likes on this video, guys. Is that a realistic milestone? I don't really do this very often, so I'm not sure what kind of metrics my videos normally get when they're first uploaded. Regardless, it doesn't matter. We're doing our burn here. Now, I wanted to do just 2 burns with this lower stage because I'm like, I feel like if we're being realistic, that engine might be rated for like 2 burns, 1 to fire for the first time, and then 1 to circularize the payload. So I thought, let's just try and get our Juno encounter done in 1 single burn. And then we kind of have that, you know, head canon of the engine's only rated for 2 burns. But unfortunately, the reliability of KSP's maneuver node system is not always that great, particularly for very fine-tuned burns, if that makes sense. Like, this burn requires a high level of precision that the maneuver node maker simply can't do. Like, you can plot the maneuver node, but when you actually do the burn, it never really aligns up exactly how you want it. So for things like this, which require a lot of finesse, it doesn't really work too well. So unfortunately, I had to do quite a few little burns just here to get our collision course with Juno. So forgive me there, but I thought, you know, at least the maneuver node was there. Everything was there. We had everything we needed. It was just the piloting that fell short a little bit. So this rocket can technically do its mission with that upper stage firing only twice. Was what I'm trying to say here. Now, you may have heard me say we're trying to aim for a Juno collision course, and that wasn't a verbal typo or anything like that. I actually do want our orbital trajectory to take us straight into the center of the red planet, and the reason for this is because I don't want to have this lower stage drifting in space forever and eternity, you know? We want to make sure it gets safely deorbited somehow. So let's just crash it into Juno. So that lower stage will coast all the way to Juno with us, but it will crash straight into the planet and be destroyed. I mean, it will be completely obliterated, right? I mean, it's coming at interplanetary speed at a near vertical collision course, so it should be a fairly safe bet that it's going to get destroyed. Now we can time warp up to Juno. So we've got our encounter pretty much, but of course we've got our encounter with Juno's sphere of influence, but we need to get an encounter with Ike now, because we're not going to be landing on Juno itself. I don't think we've got enough Delta V in this lander to do Juno. I mean, if we do, it would be very, very tight, and I don't think we do. That being said, we do have a refueling base in low Juno orbit, so it was an option. In fact, I did think about doing that after I'd done my Ike landing. I was like, you know what, maybe we could do a cheeky little Juno landing as well, but I didn't want the video to be dragged out too long. At the end of the day, the main focus of the video was the launch vehicle itself, which is now long gone, so let's not waste. We don't have to drag it out, spend ages in space. We can just do a cheeky little Ike mission, do a little bit of science, get our Kerbals on a nice EVA, stretch the legs, and then we can head back to Kerbin and call it a day, have a nice glass of whiskey. So, small correction burn needed to get our Ike encounter, only 2.2 meters per second, so very, very minimal. And the game's crashed there, we go. I was having quite a lot of, is it garbage dump? Is that what it's called? You know, the game just stutters and freezes constantly. I had to do a game restart, actually, to fix it, but that was just an interesting thing that happened. You can see my solar space station there has forever tarnished my map screen with that really weird eccentric sun orbit. That's my space station, if you guys want to watch that. Maybe I'll remember to put a card on screen if I remember, or in a link in the description. Again, if I remember, you can watch that. But it was a video in which I put a space station around the sun, and you know, that was a nice video. I hopefully, if you enjoyed this video, you'd like that too. I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to stall for time, guys, because not a lot's happening on screen. But that's over now. We now have stuff to talk about again. We have encountered Ike. As you can see, we've got a direct connection to the Kerbal Space Center as well, which is great. In fact, I'm not sure if it is direct, but that antenna, that satellite dish on the side of the spacecraft is strong enough to reach Kerbin from this distance. But we've also got that space station in low Juno orbit as well, which we can use as a relay. In fact, it looks like from my brief view of the map screen just there that that's what's happening. Although this antenna, whilst it's very close, it can reach Kerbin, but it'll be a much weaker signal, I imagine, than if the lander just uses the space station as a first hop, because the space station has a gigantic relay dish, which means the signal is a little bit stronger. Anyway, we're now going to start our landing burn. Now, I did make one mistake here. You can see on the nav ball there, it says orbit, just above the velocity indicator, when really it needs to be set to surface. Because our retrograde marker is not aligning with our surface speed. You can see I'm killing it off, but we've still got quite a lot of horizontal velocity here, despite the fact that our retrograde marker is slowly creeping towards the center of the nav ball, which means we're set to orbital mode. There we go. So setting it to surface mode, you can see now that retrograde marker pings back closer to the horizon, and as we follow it, we can now see that we bleed off our horizontal speed perfectly. Now, I wanted our touchdown speeds to be fairly conservative, you know. These Kerbals want to have a nice smooth ride. They had a pretty rough launch, didn't they? Launching. So I think, you know, they deserve a nice smooth landing. And then we can go ahead and do our science. And I learned something. about science today, actually. This was really interesting, because I said in my... looping back to the solar space station again, I said in that video that it's actually incorrect to refer to the sun in Kerbal Space Program as Kerbal, which most people do, because that's kind of the name that the forums call it, and that's sort of become widespread in the community. But in the game, it's not actually ever called Kerbal. It's always called the sun. But someone on the KSP forums showed me that there is actually it's actually called Kerbal in the game. It is canon. I was wrong. I admit I'm not wrong very often. I thought I was wrong once, but it turned out I was mistaken. But yeah, the doodling astronaut says that if you do an ice chunk analysis on Elu, the science readout says Elu's distance from Kerbal means that nearly anything will freeze here. So there we are. Kerbal is confirmed canon, it would seem. So there you are. If that's because it was added with Breaking Ground, and so they got like newer devs now, and so they didn't know that Kerbal was just the fan name. But there we are. I guess now I can refer to it as Kerbal, and if people try and correct me saying actually it's only called the sun, I can be like, nah, I was one of you too. But it turns out that the game does in fact refer to the sun as Kerbal, at least in the Elu ice chunk analysis science readout. It probably has a couple of other mentions here and there that I haven't checked or seen before, but there we are. Fun fact that I learned today about Kerbal Space Program. So, you
gotta hear about this. Go from idea to illustration faster with generative AI in Adobe Illustrator. Generate custom graphics, create seamless patterns, and instantly fill shapes with detail and color. Try Illustrator today. You won't be sorry.
Everyone, you can never get to a stage where you just can't learn anything new. There's always stuff to learn. There's always ways to improve in life. That's my deep philosophical point of the video here. As we do our... I feel like I didn't really talk about Ike at all, did I? Just them. I suppose there's not much to talk about, is it really? It's just a big grey rock. Although, very pretty grey rock. I really am still in love with the texture revamps that Juna and Ike received, as well as a few other celestial bodies in the Kerbal system, I should say. And I can call it the Kerbal system now, not the Kerbal Space Program solar system, which is a bit of a mouthful. I personally can't wait for Elu and Tylo to get facelifts. It's really nice that Lathe got a facelift. I still need to revamp Life on Lathe, don't I? I mean, I kind of did. I did the first episode where we said to Dragonfly quadcopter to Lathe, but then I never did anything since. So it's coming, guys. I just have other stuff to do, like Sea Dragon launches, and hopefully this was an acceptable compromise over Life on Lathe this week. But do not worry, Life on Lathe will return. It's just I'm trying to figure it all out, like what to do. Like, I'd like to have a big land base. I'd like to have a big sea base. I want a helicopter. I've decided there's going to be a helicopter, and the land base and the sea base are going to have helipads so that it can like hop between them. Or maybe we could even have like a stock, what's it called? Osprey. Is it the Osprey? The Boeing craft by the US military have, where it's sort of a plane and then the wings rotate. It's like a helicopter. I'm sure it's called the Osprey. It's one of those facts where like you know it and it's really obvious, but then in the heat of the moment when you're trying to do a commentary, you can't pause, right? Most good commentators would pause. In fact, they would probably write a script beforehand with all the talking points they need to cover, rather than having to rush through everything in a mad panic because the footage is playing back at fast motion on screen, like I do, for example. Anyway, we're on our way back to... so just to wrap up that point, that's one thing I was doing. Maybe a helicopter, maybe an Osprey. That's what I mean. I just got to sit down and think about it and decide what I want and then just, execute. So Life on Lathe is coming, but I want to make sure it's done right, Anyway, here you can see we have our Kerbin encounter all sorted. I was trying to get the prep. I was aiming for sort of a 30-kilometer periapsis, but as you can see, even with the monopropellant thrusters, they're still too twitchy. They're still too high, the thrust weight ratio is still too high to do fine-tuned maneuvers. So I had to drop the thrust down to just 2% on those RCS blocks to get the level of accuracy required to get to the periapsis that I wanted, but it was fine once we did that. It was pretty easy. And then we can time warp around to our Kerbin encounter, where we can obviously enter the atmosphere and hopefully land, and we can review all of the science that we managed to gather on our little trip to I was about to say Elu for some reason, on our little trip to Ike. And there is Kerbin looming ahead. So what I could do right now is decouple that lower stage to make sure it has enough time to drift away nice and safely, so we're not gonna risk crashing into it. But that's just not exciting, is it? I do like decoupling my lower stage at the very last second so we can watch some cool fireworks upon re-entry, although sadly today wasn't the case. It didn't explode, so kind of weird that it didn't. I mean, re-entry heating is not turned off or anything, so I'm not quite sure why it didn't. Bit of a disappointment, but oh well, we're nearly back anyway, and we aimed for the sea, and just to make a nice sort of splashdown, nice and safely. I imagine a sea dragon, or it was fitting, you know, we launched from the sea, we land in the sea. But this is also similar to how the Apollo capsules landed, and I imagine, you know, a lot of the concepts for the Sea Dragon featured an Apollo-style command pod at the top, so I would have thought it would also land in the sea. So we're kind of fulfilling both things really there. We're fulfilling the potential accuracy if this thing was ever built, but also in a nice sort of philosophical way, we're ending where we left off. Well, we're on the other side of the planet, but regardless, we're still, in a way, landing where we left off, and that's pretty much the mission done, to be honest. We got our science there, just over 800 units of science, which is going to add to our score for this save file. And that's it. There's an end screen on screen with things to click if you want to click them. Left-hand side is a video chosen for you by YouTube's recommendation algorithm, however that works. I mean, you guys know how end screens work, so I don't need to go through how they work again, right? Description for merch and social media and stuff. I'm going to leave it there. Goodbye.
On a lonely planet slowly spinning its way to damnation, amid the incompetence and unpreparedness of lesser space programs, one team stands resilient against the herds, putting their lives on the line to aid those who were previously unaware of the quick save option. Yes, it's the incredible adventures of Jebediah and his crack team of Kerbinals. They are the Blunderbirds, saving the Kerbin race one stranded explorer at a time.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Blunderbird. It has been quite some time since I did one of these, and that's mainly because I've conducted standard rescue missions to most of the celestial bodies in this game already, but I felt that I didn't really want to do another until an interesting mission presented itself, and this week, well, that's exactly what happened. Poor Reddit user Wavy Iguana attempted to send 36 Kerbals to the Mun using an SSTO spaceplane, but the journey ended in the tragic destruction of the vessel and the stranding of the crew inside this desolate Mun crater. I admired the ambitious nature of the mission. Large crude SSTOs are certainly not an easy feat, and I liked the challenge of having to rescue so many Kerbals, and so the game is on, ladies and gentlemen. I decided to use the carcass of the original craft as a starting point for making my own 36-seat SSTO, that being the Mark III shuttle-style cockpit at the bow of the fuselage, sitting just ahead of two Mark III 16-seater crew cabins to give us a total capacity of 36. Now, while my initial plan was to match the crew capacity of the wrecked SSTO, I realized later on that this probably wouldn't make for great video content, as I would have to send the vessel to the Mun under probe control. And you know, missions, they're not really the same without those little Kerbal faces smiling away in the bottom right-hand side of the screen while you launch them on their questionably designed contraptions, and I thought it'd be a shame to not have that for the first half of this video whilst we're getting to the Mun. And so you'll see me swap out one of the nose cones that I put onto this thing for a small crew module to enable us to carry an extra 2 Kerbals, meaning that we can have Valentina and Bill to fly this thing to the Mun. Other than that, the design of this craft follows my fairly standard Argus fuselage setup. I've dubbed it the Engiadine 2, in view of its similarity to the original Engiadine, a 20-seat Mun SSTO I made all the way back in 2015. My goodness, how time flies. I feel like that video might have been the first video I ever made that breached the 100,000 view mark. So, you know, it's a bit of a... I've got a bit of a nostalgic connection to this kind of SSTO design. And as you can see, construction is proceeding very nicely as we get to adding the landing gear. Now, because I'm attaching landing gear to parts of the ship that sit at various different heights, I like to just drop my space planes down to the floor of the space plane hangar just to make it a little bit easier to make sure that the wheels are actually sitting level relative to each other. Not much else I can think of to really comment. I'm adding some little drogue chutes here to the back just to make the landing look a little bit cooler, although as you will see if you just stay tuned to the very end. See, look at that. Look at that, promoting viewer attention, all that. If you stick around to the very end, you can see that those parachutes actually came in they were pretty useful to have, as it turned out. So that was a good decision when it came to designing this thing. One thing I think might be worth mentioning actually about this craft's landing gear layout is that we've actually got two sets of landing gear at the posterior end of the fuselage. We've got the two really big sets of landing gear in towards the middle of the fuselage, and then we have the two smaller ones on the wingtips just there. And the reason those two smaller ones are there are just to help provide stability when we land on the Mun and indeed have to traverse the surface of the Mun. When moving across uneven terrain, this thing will have a bit of a tendency to wobble because of the high mass of those peripherally mounted rapier units. So like I say, to help ensure that we remain stable and don't tip over, we've got those wing-mounted landing gear. Those will be stowed away though when we take off from Kerbin, just because if they are deployed, the nose won't be able to lift up because those landing gear will prevent it from pitching up. They're sitting far too far behind the vessel's center of mass, so they're going to be stowed away, and that's why the bigger landing gear towards the center of the fuselage is sitting a little bit further forward. It's sitting only just behind the center of mass, such that it will act as a nice fulcrum to allow the elevators to lift the craft into the air before we get to the end of the runway. I mean, like I say, it's not really that necessary because you can just use the end of the runway as a kind of ramp to start getting airborne without needing to worry about landing gear placements, but I think it's a bit more realistic, and it adds a slightly, you know, a little bit of a fun, dynamic challenge to designing crafts to make sure you can see if you can pitch up before you reach the end of the runway. And we're about to see that's about to be put to the test as we fire up those rapier engines and begin our acceleration to takeoff speed, which is going to be about between 90 and 100 meters per second is when I start pitching up this sort of craft. It's very big, as you can imagine. It needs to be going at a fair old pace before you can start getting into the air without risking, you know, jeopardizing your stability. And look at that. We have a textbook launch from the runway surface. We've got a lot of runway left, actually, so we needn't have worried about running out of tarmac before this thing got into the air. And speaking of getting into the air, we're going to now begin our ascent. I don't know what that was. I like to think I try and come up with clever segues, but they're really not. If anything, they're obnoxious. But moving along regardless, the first stage of our ascent is to pick up as much speed as we can in the lower atmosphere. We really want to reach the sweet spot speed of about 440 meters per second, which is when the rapiers unlock their full potential and start providing a lot more thrust to help us blast our way to orbital velocity. I like doing this earlier on because there's a lot more air for the end.
Changing the blocks in your Minecraft world has never been easier with Tinker's Block.
Question is, did Geometry Light make this link farm?
Dear Winter, we've missed you.
You know what the top Google search result for Geometry Dash is? Maybe it's the game's Steam page? Wow, this video turned out great! An exposal of a fake Geometry Dash website and how it's stealing popular Scratch projects. It's a good thing I never have to think about this ever again.
It all makes sense!
Craig, is that you? No one's heard from you in weeks, ever since you started rambling about that fake Geometry Dash.
What do you know about fake Geometry Dash? Do you have any idea what I've been through? One games, Geometry Light, Egg Dash.
What are you talking about? You're not making any sense.
Oh, trust me, I am! There is so much to uncover. Come here, I'll tell you everything. And I mean everything. So, a while back I made a video where I investigated those fake Geometry Dash websites you might have seen. Long story short, they take advantage of the fact that Geometry Dash is a game you have to install through the App Store or Steam or whatever. However, there's a surprisingly large demographic, mostly children, that think that you can just search the game up on Google and immediately start playing, no download required. Alternatively, maybe they just have a device like a Chromebook where they can't install Geometry Dash. So what these sites do is simple. They call themselves Geometry Dash, work their way up Google search, and then when someone clicks on it, they have a Geometry Dash to play, usually with a ton of ads where all the money goes to the website and none goes to RobTop, the developer of the game. In other words, it's a scam and you shouldn't fall for it. Now, obviously you can't just put actual Geometry Dash on a website. Porting this game to a web browser would probably require remaking it from the ground up. Fortunately, some people have actually done this. The majority of these websites would present you with Geometry Dash v1.5, a remake of the game made in the building block programming language Scratch by the legend himself, Griffpatch. But although it's impressive for Scratch standards, you can't really pass this off as the real thing. But to the people foolish enough to think that they're playing real Geometry Dash on a website, this was enough. Scratch Geometry Dash actually came with a level editor, so it would go on to develop a bit of a community. People would remix it and build their own levels, and others would go on to add new objects and mechanics. One Scratcher in particular, iPhone AT&T Time Warner Cable 115, made it their mission to remake as many real GD levels in Scratch as possible, from level easy to change of scene to everything in between them. No lie, there's literally thousands. Are they good? Not really, in fact most are barely even playable, but I see it as more of an art form. It's super respectable in my eyes, and it's done as a passion project. But the fake Geometry Dash websites quickly took notice, and this was a goldmine to them. Now they could clickbait hundreds of real GD levels, serve up the Scratch versions, which they stole, and profit from all the ads around it. They also have these really funny AI-generated descriptions, like, in Geometry Dash I Spy with my little eye, you will overcome countless challenging challenges. Fly like a lightning-fast rocket past the spikes and obstacles ahead. Of course, they also sprinkle in some other random games or weird GD clones, but that's to be expected. The most notable of these websites is geometry-dash.io, which has hundreds, maybe even thousands of these stolen Scratch projects. But really, there's tons of these websites. The more you look, the more you'll find. And it's not just Geometry Dash. You'll also find these for FNAF, Happy Wheels, Wordle, Slope, Backrooms, and so on. And even though these websites sometimes give you what you want, they are there specifically to trick you. They all run on the same code, so to spot one, just look for a footer that looks like this, or a comment section kinda like this. So that's where my last video ended, but lots has happened since then. For example, if you search Geometry Dash on Google, it says that some results have been removed due to a copyright complaint from the one and only RobTop Games. Turns out, he's been sending multiple of these and they actually work. The search results are improving and some bad websites don't even appear anymore. But it's pretty obvious that if you strike down one of these websites, 2 more will grow back. And for some reason, geometry-dash.io never dies. Probably because they keep changing their homepage to a different link. Speaking of that website, did you know that there's actually a kids.geometry-dash.io? I could not tell you why this exists, but it seems to have less ads, so maybe it's a legal thing. Also, a few days after I posted my video, gd.io added a disclaimer to their website, a non-official fan-made version of Geometry Dash. Then this September, they added, "We are not the official game" in capital letters. They also credited the creator of the Scratch project. But if you go to the website now, you'll notice 2 things. Firstly, that disclaimer has been banished to a link all the way at the bottom of the page. And secondly, they're not running the Scratch version anymore.
Insanity is shooting off the enemy's wheels and guns over and over again, and then watching their inglorious shame in the sunset. Holy radiation! Bless this crazy damage model in the game! Download Crossout for free at crossout.net.
You see, as impressive as it is, Scratch Geometry Dash obviously doesn't play that well, and it's just a stolen project made by someone else. What these websites needed was a game that actually looked and played exactly like real Geometry Dash, a recreation of the game so impressive that you could barely tell it apart from the real thing, and above all else, a game that they could have full control over the development of. This video isn't about the existence of these fake Geometry Dash websites or the Scratch games that they steal. Nor is it about all those other weird ripoffs that they also host. This video is about one single Geometry Dash clone that I've spent months of my life investigating. A game with the ambitious goal of becoming a perfect copy of Geometry Dash. A game that would undergo dozens of strange updates and break out into multiple spin-off games. A game that would build their own rooftop levels, and a game that would steal levels that never existed to begin with. But most importantly, a game that would absolutely break me as a human being. This is the story of Geometry Light. So, as much as I would love to jump right into the lore of this game, there's a few other GD copies I need to highlight for context. And the first one actually shows up in my last big GD video at 6 minutes and 25 seconds. Geometry Dash Times Lost, which is your more traditional Geometry Dash copy and not something made on Scratch. The levels are actually recreations of the Geometry Dash ones, like Associations is actually Clubstep with the monsters and everything. This is GeoJump, a pretty terrible copy of Geometry Dash that's been around for years. Despite the weird level names like Preamble, Let's Go, Gravitational, they're just really sad recreations of the main GD levels. However, Stereo Madness was replaced with some weird knockoff version fresh out of the recent tab. The game goes all the way up to Electrodynamics, or Planet Hunt, but as you can see, it looks and plays terribly. But what I want you to focus on is the music. It turns out that this game exclusively uses old tracks by F777, who you might know is the creator of Deadlock, Sonic Blaster, and many other bangers. I asked him if he knew about this, and sure enough, they just grabbed these songs with no permission. Funny enough, this game actually has a second version. It has a proper menu and uses the actual Geometry Dash songs, but they obviously don't sync. There's also a bunch of funky icons to pick from, as well as a shuffle button, which I made, by the way, for my Icon Kit website. Then that game got a second version, adding all the levels up to Finger Dash. And this time they don't have weird names, but that doesn't stop that from being awful. Then they made GeoJump World, which is the 10 GD World levels followed by the challenge as the 11th. Once again, not good. I would even argue that the Scratch games play better than this. I thought it ended there, but then someone on Twitter sent me Slope Ball, a game about a heroic ball exploring several mysterious islands. It's just the exact same game rotated 10 degrees! Aside from making you a ball, they also cleaned up the menu and improved the physics of it, but there's still nothing going for this game. The other game I need to quickly cover is what I call GD Unity, because it's a really faithful recreation of Geometry Dash made in the Unity game engine. I went over this game in GD Copy 7, so I'll keep it moving. Although this game looks really impressive, it has its flaws. They tried to recreate all the menus, but the buttons do nothing and there's typos everywhere. My favorites are Progress Bar and Quiche Checkpoint Mode. You can choose any icon from Geometry Dash, but death effects don't work and you're always forced to use the fire trail. The achievements menu is weird, and as it turns out, all the textures there come from me, from the old achievement page on my website GD browser. Finally, and most importantly, the music doesn't sync and the physics suck. The ship gravity is brutal, the cube can bonk its head, the UFO is what? And it gets significantly worse. Much like GeoJump, this game goes up to Electrodynamics, but all signs point to it being a completely different project by a different developer entirely. I actually got a hold of the developer at one point, but he didn't provide much useful information, and now he's completely ghosting me. You can't deny that this game lays a pretty good foundation, so it ended up branching out into a lot of spin-offs, like Meltdown, which turned out decent, but obviously has its flaws. Sub-Zero only has press start, and it's actually some weird extended version of the level. The ending is weirdly difficult. And it uses Geometrical Dominator. You had one job. There's also a Bloodbath spin-off for some reason, but this transition is impossible because every portal resets you to normal gravity. But I data mined the game, and yes, it is the entire level. It's faithful, but there's definitely some mistakes, like using the X object here, leaving out some creator logos, and filling in all the blank spaces with this object for some reason. Geometry Dash Scratch is probably the weirdest of the bunch, because it's the exact same as Meltdown, but they just changed the logo. I really could not explain the logic behind this one. Finally, they did Geometry Dash Breeze, which is actually a fan game by the creator Drexel. He makes really good Robtop styled levels, and you can play them all from his account. My favorite is Into the Zone, it plays so nicely. But yeah, for some reason they made the first 3 levels of Breeze. I don't know if that's an honor or kind of concerning. Once again, it's not great, and the spider is pretty silly. This game will show up again later, but for now we can finally head back to geometrydash.io, which is where this story really begins. And let me just explain how the video is going. First, we're going to go over the history of this website, everything they've done since the last video, as well as all the details of that Geometry Light game that keeps hinting about. Then we'll get into how the website starts to take a weird turn. And finally, I'm going to completely tear it apart with data mining, clue gathering, and everything in between. This is something I've been investigating like a maniac for months, so strap in. Starting off, shortly after my last fake GD video, I realized that I should probably keep a closer eye on this website. So I set up a bot that posts to Twitter every time they add a new Scratch game to their lineup. When that video came out in November of 2022, it seems like they were in the middle of a 9 circles phase, adding levels like Down Base, Crimson Clutter, Astronaut 13, just to name a few. In December, they claimed to add Sub-Zero, but it was just this random game. Then they changed it to the Scratch one a few days later. Following that, they would go on to add Scratch versions of Dryout all the way up to Finger Dash, even linking these games right from their homepage. Then they began working their way up the Gauntlet levels, with this masterpiece making its way onto the site on March 16th, 2023. June 30, we saw I Spy, July 18th, we got Limbo, and then Change of Scene on the 21st. On August 5th, there was a lot of Skibbity Toilet and Among Dash. September added Mario Dash, which was, this. We also got Egg Dash and Spooky Dash, which are popular Scratch projects by Chipmunk with completely original levels and a new engine that runs much better than the other Scratch Geometry Dash. The site also started moving all their Scratch games to Turbo Warp, which is just a faster Scratch. In January of this year, they added Mario 64. It's literally just Mario 64, I'm not even joking. I have no idea how they got away with this. Someone on Twitter even beat it. They also added Lobotomy Dash, which is... Gotta love the default Unity physics. Turns out this one's hosted on lobotomydash.com, which is yet another fake Geometry Dash website where this is the front page game. It has a corner where you can watch Lobotomy Dash videos, and a long AI-generated description stating that a lobotomy is the process of curing mental illness by causing brain damage. It sounds absurd, but its effectiveness will surprise you. Finally, this April they added Dash Spider. The funniest part about this one is that they literally forgot to add a game. It's just a blank screen, there's no data. To this day, they're still adding more Scratch games and the occasional other slop you'd come to expect. Oh, and how could I forget? Back on the 8th of August, just before the 10-year anniversary of Geometry Dash, there was this random other game they added with the name Geometry Dash Lite. Normally, this isn't a very big deal, but this time, Scratch Geometry Dash vanished from the homepage of the site, and this game took its place. Right away, let's clear up that this is not the Unity version of Geometry Dash I showed earlier. It is made in Unity, but to keep things simple, we'll call this one Geometry Dash Unity, and this one Geometry Lite, which is also the display name for Real GD Lite on Apple devices. Just from looking at the menu, it's clear that this game is in a pretty unfinished state. Most of the menu options are labeled as coming soon, including Newgrounds, the only settings are for volume, and you can't choose a custom icon, despite the fact that they're literally flying by on the menu. The info box in the corner states that this is version 1.0, and the developer is geometrylight.io, which the More Games button also takes you to. It's yet another one of those fake GD sites, but back when this was released, this was the only game available on it. Once you press play, following a painfully slow transition, you're met with every level up until Jumper. Give one of them a try, and... yeah, so this is the most perfect recreation of Geometry Dash that I've ever seen. It looks almost identical to the real thing, and the physics are more accurate than any other clone I've ever played. Even the ship controls surprisingly nicely. My only real nitpick is that, like with most copies, there's zero orb buffering. Also, the levels are literally one-to-one. Every tiny detail is placed correctly, and I have a suspicion that these were somehow ported over directly from the real game.
Time is running out.
Alright, y'all. I just realized I've been silent this entire stream, so, goodbye.